So it's a bit of a strange story. When I went to the gym's Melbourne training, I was intending on just being myself, working by myself and only having one car, going around town just doing a few handyman jobs. And the seed sort of got planted there that you could grow your business, you can put as many people on as you like, and your franchise can actually be bigger than just you. And I never thought of that until I got to Melbourne. So there wasn't really a plan to grow my business beyond myself until that point. And then I thought, maybe next year or a year from now, I'll have another employee. So already having the three of us on the road is probably outside of what I'd planned.
So Mark, thank you for joining us today on the Jim's podcast. And you're in Jim's Handyman in New Zealand, which is one of our newer divisions in New Zealand, but it's got a lot of franchisees there with Robert Young, the franchisor, and franchisees like yourself. They're doing a great job in building the business over there. So do you want to talk about yourself a bit first, about what were you doing prior to doing the Jim's Handyman franchise?
So I've always done things with my hands. I had my own arborist business for 12 years and my body just got a little bit tired of climbing trees every day. So I was looking around for a new opportunity to start something that was more ground level than up in trees. So, yeah.
Well, if you run an arborist business, that's a very tough, it's a very good business because I've got my cousin here actually has an arborist business as well. So I know a little bit about what you guys do. And there's a lot of work in being an arborist and a lot of things happening. But yeah, you were getting up in the trees yourself, in that time.
Yeah. So 12 years of that, just wanted something a little bit more lax than climbing trees every day.
So you had that business experience. So what was it about doing a franchise that didn't appeal to you? Because I'm sure you could have probably done something, or you might have been looking at doing something yourself, or...
I guess I saw starting from scratch with my arborist business, and it was quite difficult to build up that regular clientele, and I was looking for something that was more turnkey. I looked for existing businesses. Then I fell into looking at franchises, and obviously gyms came up during that time amongst others, but it sort of stood out as something with a bit more support. And I guess the fairer franchise fee system was something that appealed to me.
Yeah, what was it about the gyms? Because you would have, as you said, you were looking at a few other franchises and there would have been a few around. I think New Zealand's got the second most franchises per person in the world per country. Australia's got the most. So there's a lot of franchises in New Zealand and Australia. So what was it about Jim's Handyman? Did you know it did Handyman, or was it just you sort of recognise it from Jim's Mowing, or how'd you find out about it?
I'd never heard of Jim's Handyman. It wasn't really existing in my hometown at that point. There was one other guy, but I'd obviously never heard of him and never seen him around. But the thing that stood out was when I contacted a few franchises about buying a business, Jim's was the only one that got back to me very quickly, which sort of set it up really well at the start. One of them took, I think, 3 weeks to get back to me. Really got back to me on an email. I'm looking at spending, 50 to 100K on a business, and took 3 weeks to get back to me. So, that was a bad start for them. So, yeah, the Jim's guy straight back to me and, let me know and answered all my questions straight away. And yeah.
What were the questions from you then looking at a franchise? Because it's great to have someone like you on who's done it for, I had a few people I've interviewed. You've done businesses for a long time. You've been able to run a really, successful small business. But then you go, when you want to start something new, you go, I don't want to go through the hassle of doing that on my own again. I just want to go into something because I know how difficult it can be. So what were some of those questions that you were asking at the start before getting in that was made the gyms the option for you?
Number one was the cost. How much is it going to cost me to set this up? What do I need on top of that? Tools and equipment and all the other stuff. What support is in place when I actually start? Who's going to show me the ropes? Yeah, I guess they were the main things. Financial setup. And then where does the work come from? Is there enough work for me? Am I going to start the first week and I've got nothing to do? I'm just sitting at home waiting for phone calls. But that was all sort of outlined by the franchisor as to how the work comes in and whether I'd be busy. And the paperwork guarantee was obviously another good backup if things didn't go well from the start.
And how was the first couple of weeks then for you?
I started my first day and I started getting leads right away. After a week, I was busy and I've been busy ever since. So, yeah, right. There's no shortage of work.
Perfect. And how have those leads been? Like, have they been, what would you determine it? Like, have they been good quality for you? What type of jobs are coming through those leads? What have you found?
I found probably I get a 70 to 80% hit rate on the leads that I do get. So I think Jim sort of charges you for 80%, so I'm about right. Some of them are low quality, but I guess there's no way of telling with some people that are just a little bit airy-fairy about what they really want done and whether they actually do want it done. So I guess that's the difference in the leads that I don't get. The actual quoted jobs. It's probably 90% that I do get, and it's not through price, it's through turning up on time and doing what you say you'll do, and doing a good job and getting good reviews from other people.
And what sort of work are you doing? What type of things have you been doing for customers?
So the handyman is a good one because it's such a range of work. You can be changing a door handle or a door lock, or rejibbing a whole bedroom, painting and plastering, building gates, repairing fences. There's just a huge variety. Anything that sort of falls within, it needs to be fixed, and they don't know who to call.
And is that what you like about it? Is just that there's a different challenge every day, and it's something that's maybe not as taxing to the body as what your prior career was?
Yeah, it is still a little bit taxing because you can be quite hectic and you can be doing a lot of heavy lifting and stuff, but it's also the brain's also going overtime because you've got such a diverse range of stuff. You're always thinking ahead of what you'll need that day, what tools you'll need, what supplies you'll need to get. Yeah, I guess it's definitely stimulating to the brain anyway, and keeps you thinking.
You've got a great service rating. I had a look before jumping on. So what to you, you mentioned a couple of things, but what to you then is good customer service, and why do you think your business is doing so well?
I guess clearly understanding what the customer wants, and I guess listening to what they've got to say, and then following it up by, filling out your quotes quite detailed so they know you're going to do exactly what they want, doing it to a high standard, and turning up on time and doing things when you say you will is the big thing. If someone has to wait and you put them off a week because you're too busy and you said you'll be there, then that sort of lets customers down. So being there when you say you will be is a big one as well.
That's a good point you mentioned then about finding out what the customer actually wants. Is there any sort of tricks, or how do you pull that out of customers? Because they might not even know. How do you get that out of them? Is there any certain things you do, or is it just you take more time, or you double check things, or how do you do it?
I guess I like when I do the quote is the time that I'm asking them the questions as to exactly what they want. Because so if I can and direct those questions into like quite detailed, would you like this window frame finished in this sort of trim or as it is now, then I get all that information and I note it down when I'm there. So I've got all the information. So when I'm there doing the job, I don't have to constantly ask them questions either. So yeah.
What time is the quote turnaround normally for you? Or just don't even get the quote, because I know people getting quotes can be a big problem. So I'll give you an example. We had I've got a balcony at home here in Oz, and I had a Jim's Handyman come around, and then I had another person who said, go get another quote. The Jim's Handyman guy had me the quote in 2 days, which was great. The other guy cut a hole under our thingo, have a look inside, left a mess, didn't give us a quote, and it's been like 2 months, and we followed up a couple of times. So how long till a quote from the quote comes to the customer till the job can sort of get out of the way from your perspective?
So if I go and look at a job, I try and get the quote to them. I'll say to them within 24 hours, this time tomorrow, I'll have your quote on your email ready to go. If I know it's a little bit more detailed, it might be, I'll have your quote within 48 hours. So, 2 days from now, this time Thursday or whatever, then they know when it's coming. I always make sure that I do that on time. I do hear a lot that people have rung 3 people and I'm the only one who's turned up. And so that really gives me a good leg up to getting the job without having to drop my price or anything. I may get the job just because I'm the only one who actually bothered to service that call. So yeah.
Yeah, it's quite a common thing in customers there. Customers can be very difficult to find someone these days, which is why Jim's is such a good place to go, because if you don't rock up and you don't do the quote, it's obviously a complaint system in place and a survey system which finds that out. But I was going to say as well, with what you do, what are the more common jobs you do for customers? Is there any sort of trends in regards to you doing more gates, or you doing more of this, or what are the more common things customers get you to do?
I think something that surprised me that I didn't really think of too much when I was doing the handyman was the amount of doors that people want repaired. Quite often the lightweight doors have got holes punched in, so it's a sort of a full door replacement. Door locks, door handles. I guess that's probably one of my biggest markets, really.
And how's the support been as well? So you mentioned support at the start. How's the support been for you? Because being in business for a long time, you would know how to run a business. So what does that support? What do you use that for? What do you need it for?
I guess having my franchisor to talk to about the business growth has been a big thing for me, because things have snowballed quite rapidly. I had to ask them, is now a good time to add an extra employee? Am I moving too fast? Am I going to stumble? Is cash flow going to be a problem? Those sorts of things. So it's good to have the franchisor on board. And other franchisees, which I've got one in town who is a little bit more experienced on the building side and is a licensed builder, has been valuable to ask questions along the way about, should I be doing this job, or how do I do this job, that sort of thing. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's a nice shortcut to have, and it's something that you would know being in your, like when you were in your arborist business, did you have any other arborists you sort of talked to, or how was it just by yourself? Or
yeah, because I initially started out as an arborist working for another company and met people along the way that were like-minded arborists who also started their own businesses. Then we sort of shouted each other out about things, and yeah, we always had someone to talk to if we had problems or the job was too big, etc.
Now, with your business growth, Mark, what's your plan? Do you currently have an employee, or what are you trying to do from that perspective?
So I started in November last year, so not quite a year. I employed my first employee in May and then my second employee at the end of August. So it's happened quite rapidly. There's now got 3 vans on the road, and we're all full-time busy. So it just shows if you can provide a good level of customer service and a nice job, then the work keeps coming.
Now, big problem for franchisees is finding good people and finding good staff. So where have you advertised for staff, or how have you found your employees? And is there any sort of tricks you've done to find those people?
I have just advertised on a New Zealand-based site called Trade Me, which is where you'll find most jobs these days. Each time I've sort of interviewed a minimum of a couple of people out of that. I've got a lot of bad applications, but I managed to weed out the good ones, and thankfully I've found 2 really good employees, which is I'm quite lucky these days. If I do employ another person, I may do a call around or ask my employees if they know anyone, because they've worked in the industry for a while. So, yeah.
Was there certain questions you asked, or was there certain things, or did you do a week trial with them, or how did you find the good ones? What did you do to weed out the bad ones with your process?
Really just reading through their resumes and seeing if they had any relevant experience was the first thing. A well-written CV is always good if they've put in an effort to write a cover letter. When I've asked if you can apply with a cover letter and they've actually put one in, that's a good start. And then interviewing them in person, getting a feel for who they are in person is the big thing once you actually got all that information. So, yeah.
So you plan to grow any more, or are you sort of happy with the level you are? Because it's, to have 2 full-time employees, so you get 3 vans on the road full-time in under a year's great achievement. So what are you hoping to do for yours? Is there a cap you want to get to, or is it just something that you want to keep going, or where are you trying to take it?
So it's a bit of a strange story. When I went to the gym's Melbourne training, I was intending on just being myself, working by myself, and only having 1 car, going around town just doing a few handyman jobs. And the seed sort of got planted there that you could grow your business. You can put as many people on as you like, and your franchise can actually be bigger than just you. And I never thought of that until I got to Melbourne and heard that. So there wasn't really a plan to grow my business beyond myself until that point. And then I thought, maybe next year or a year from now, I'll have another employee. So already having the 3 of us on the road is probably outside of what I'd planned. I probably intend to maybe get 1 more person, which would be a team of 4, but maybe me stepping off the tools a little bit more. So, yeah.
I'm glad to hear you say that. I'll tell Jim that when I go in the office today, because he loves franchisees building big businesses, because the work is there to do so. Because if you don't have the extra employees and, we have a heap of unserviced, it's not good for customers. So the more you can take on, the better. It's great to hear that you've done it. So how did you find coming over to Oz for the training? How was the training experience for you?
It was quite nice going over to the warm weather.
Not now. It's just, you probably got a lot better weather where you are right now. It's coming down with a lot of rain.
We're just hitting summer now. So, we've had some off days recently. But, it was nice to have other like-minded people starting their own businesses and talking to people over there. Yeah, the facilities were good. The training was really excellent. Obviously, I found out that I could grow my business beyond just myself, which I hadn't clicked to beforehand. And talking to other people that had the experience and having them do talks about how they grew their business was good.
That's good to hear. And how's support from Robert Young, your franchisor, been through the whole process? Has it married up with the expectations, obviously? So you obviously, when you start, you get told a lot of things, like in anything in franchising, this, it's going to be this, this, and this. So how's it all married up with what you were told at the start to what you've been doing at the moment?
Robert's always available to have a chat as I said before, about the business growth in there and troubleshoot my problems with some of that fast growth. He's doing a really good job of growing the Jim's Handyman brand over here. So with that building, my business will build naturally on top of all of that. So I sort of try and bug him as little as possible because I know he's building things up so quickly and always signing on new franchisees. So I'm hoping he sort of gets a couple more in my hometown, which would top us up nicely and just give us a bigger presence here.
Well, that's a great thing to say, because most people might instinctively go, well, I don't want more franchisees in my area because it's going to take up all, I won't have any work or whatever, right? So what's your perspective on that thing? You've just said you want to have more people in the area. Is that because there's enough work out there, or you just want to get more work, or what's your thinking behind that?
Well, I guess if there was one McDonald's in Australia, then not a lot of people would know about it. If there's 1,000 McDonald's in Australia, then everyone knows about it. And if we've got vans all over town driving around and everyone sees one of those vans every day or every week, it's something that becomes recognisable as a brand, and anyone who wants anything done will ring Jim's Handyman. It's much like the Jim's Mowing. I always see Jim's Mowing when I'm driving around every day in Christchurch.
It's a great example, Mark. I'm glad you said that, because that's the plan for us. Is we want, obviously Jim's Mowing is well known there, but we want Jim's Handyman, Jim's Fencing, Jim's Dog Wash, Jim Clean to be all just as well as known as mowing. And the only way to really do that is to get more franchisees and more vans on the road driving around with those billboards all the time. As you said the mowing one all the time. In Christchurch, there's a lot in Christchurch, so to have the same thing for Handyman would be awesome. I'm sure, hopefully you guys can do it. I was going to say, what do you like about being a part of the Jim's system, or what do you like about being a franchisee? Because you've done both, so you've got the small business model where you've been doing it successfully with your own self, to doing the franchise model. What to you has been the key difference, or has it been easier, harder, or about the same, or how have you found it?
It's probably been a little bit easier administration-wise. I find not having to worry about how's my marketing going, am I visible on Google, and are people able to find me on the internet? Where's my work going to come from? I haven't solely relied on the gym's leads, but it is a good portion of what I get for work. So not having to worry about where that's coming from has been really good for me. I'd say that's probably one of the biggest bonuses of being in the franchise.
Yeah, because you're quite expensive, as you'd know from doing marketing as an independent, doing Google ads and stuff like that. If you're going to put a decent whack in it, it can be quite expensive, whereas with gyms, the marketing amount is not overly much compared to what you pull out of it. I remember we had an American guy actually come over who's a really big lawn care entrepreneur, and he couldn't believe how much we charged for leads and marketing, because he knows how much what the true cost of a lead was. So it's a pretty good deal in regards to lead generation activities as well. Looking back again, you're surprised by how much you've been able to do in less than a year with gyms. As you said at the start, you wanted to you thought you were going to do just a sole trader. Now all of a sudden you've got 2 full-time employees and you've got 3 vans on the road. So have you been surprised by what you've been able to do in the first 12 months?
Yeah, I'm a bit shocked, and my partner says, look where you've come from, and I don't often reflect and look back, and it is a bit of a surprise, and it's grown so quickly, but I've managed to keep it running and make sure the cash flow's there and all those issues that come along with super fast growth. But yeah, I can see it maybe getting a little bit bigger, and I could probably get it bigger than I can imagine now. But whether I want to do that is another thing, because, you sort of have to balance about how much you want to manage a business and how much you want to be working in it as well. So.
And for sure, at the start, are you happy? You don't have to say how much money making, but are you happy with the level of income you're generating in the business?
Yeah, I'd be above after my arborist business, which was run for 12 years. I've got the opportunity in the next 12 months to earn at least twice what I earned in that business, which I had for 12 years. So
that's pretty good.
Yeah.
So thank you very much today for joining us, Mark. We'll get you the call voucher as well on the left. Great to meet you as well. And it's great to have our first interview of the Jim's Handyman for our podcast in New Zealand. We've got like 150 episodes of all this. We've got some New Zealand franchisees, but they're mainly from mowing. So you're our first handyman from New Zealand as well, and hopefully not our last for this sort of stuff. So yeah, looking forward to sharing it with everyone. It's great to hear how successful you've been in your first 12 months, and it's a great division to join. If anyone's in Christchurch or just in New Zealand in general, Handyman's definitely a massive up and comer, and it's a great one to join because, as you said, there's so many things you can do, and you're never going to be bored. Every day's going to be something different.
Yep. Thanks, Joel.
No, thanks, Mark. Appreciate it. See you, mate.
No worries. Cheers. Bye.
Bye. Thank you for listening to the episode of the Gyms podcast. If you want to learn more about the Gyms Group, head to gyms.net or call us on 131 546 Australia or 0800 454 654 New Zealand. And if you did like the episode as well, please make sure you leave a review or a comment or a thumbs up or a comment on the video as well. We appreciate your support. And until next episode, we hope you have a great week.